All right, you guys, today we are going to be starting on our background paper where we're going to be adding tissue paper onto our white background so that we can prepare our paper for the Japanese no-tan. So the very first step today is going to be to write your name, your shape, and your grade on the back of your paper. Okay? And make sure you flip it over before you do this next step. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we have a couple of supplies, so I want you to see what we've got. We've got a bucket of white glue with a paintbrush. And then you guys are going to be choosing different colors of tissue. So I've chosen 3, and I want you to see if you can tell me what color family they are in. They're either in the warm or the cool. What do you think? Okay, if you said cool, then you are correct. These are in the cool color family. So there's colors such as blues, purples, greens, turquoises. Those sorts of colors are in the cool family. And then the warm family colors are colors like red, orange, yellow, pink, and those sorts of colors. So some things you need to do when you pick your pieces. First of all, you need to make sure that there are no straight edges. So if there are, you're going to take your tissue and gently tear, because it can tear completely in half very quickly if you're not gentle, okay? So you want to sort of tear off the edges so that everything has got a jagged edge on it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and prepare all my pieces to make sure they're all jagged. I'm going to tear that little piece off because I don't like it. Okay, so then what you need to do is you need to sort of plan out and arrange them how you like them. So they need to be overlapping, but they cannot hang off the edge. So if any of hang off the edge, and if maybe your pieces are too big, you can certainly tear to make them fit better. But you still want to be able to see some white background, but then you want the pieces to be overlapping, okay? So you don't want to like piece them like this to where they're not touching each other at all, okay? So play with it a little bit and see what you like. And once you have them in the arrangement that you like it, then what I want you to do is to take the top 2 pieces away so that we can start with this bottom piece, okay? So what you're going to do to start is you are going to paint a thin layer of glue onto your paper. When you're doing this, to avoid glue going everywhere, make sure you wipe your brush on the edge of your bucket before you drag it across the table so that you don't make a huge mess. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to cover where I think the piece goes, but I might miss a few pieces. Okay, now I'm going to take my piece and lay it down and just gently press where I think it's going to go. Okay, now notice I've got a few loose pieces here. So before I move on, I need to lift and put glue underneath. Notice where I'm putting the glue. Am I putting it on the tissue? No. Okay, you'll put the glue on top of the tissue in just a moment. Okay, but this makes it easier for application. Okay, hey, don't do that. Okay, so then I'm going to go fix this little corner here. Okay, and I think I've got most of my edges glued down. This part is important, getting it all glued down on the bottom first before you put glue on the top. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to put some glue down. We're going to figure out where our next piece is going to go. Okay, so I'm going to be very careful to just put glue on the white paper, kind of where I think my next piece is going to lay. Okay, I'm being very careful not to touch my tissue yet, and I'll tell you why here in just a minute. Okay, so I'm going to lay this one down. Okay, now, after I did that, I'm going to go ahead and go on my tissue and put glue underneath where the rest of that piece is going to lay. And you guys remember that white glue dries clear, so it's okay if you see lots of white on there right now, it will dry clear. Okay, so again, even though they're overlapping, I'm making sure that I get underneath them nice and glued down. Okay, I'm going to fix this little part right here. Okay, so then I got my last piece, and I actually think I'm going to make it just a tad bit smaller. Okay. So I'm going to paint on the white paper where I think it goes, and then I'll paint on the tissue. Okay, so I chose the colors I chose on purpose so I could show you guys something. And I'm going to on purpose mess up something here in just a second so I can see you or show you what could possibly happen if you're not careful. Okay, so the reason I chose the colors I did is because these colors are very saturated, which means they're really vivid colors. They have a lot of pigment in them, okay? Some other colors like yellows or maybe the light blues, those don't have as much pigment in them, so this next thing may or may not happen to them, okay? So your next step is going to be to take your brush and you are going to brush a thin layer of glue. So you don't want it really thick. We're going to brush a thin layer of glue on top of this tissue. And what it does basically is it seals it in and it makes the tissue sort of look like it becomes part of the paper. Okay, so let me show you quickly what could happen because these colors are so saturated. I think it's going to probably happen most with my green. Okay, if you are not careful with your glue and you brush off of your paper, notice what happened. It smears, okay? So what happens is that color is being pulled out of my paper and onto my white paper, okay? So if you're not careful, you can make your painting look really sloppy, okay? So whenever you're painting this top layer, I really need you to slow down, take your time, and make sure that your brush just goes on top of the tissue. Otherwise, this background is not going to look very neat, and it won't be something nice to put your Japanese no-tan on top of. Okay, so I really, really, really want you to be careful of that happening. So you just make sure you keep your brush on top of the tissue only, and don't go wild whenever you are doing your top layer of glue. Okay, so you can kind of do like you do when you're coloring in something, where you outline it first and then fill in. If that helps you, you can do that as well, okay? This is called bleeding tissue, and it's just basically tissue where the color bleeds out really easily because it's really, really saturated, okay? So that's basically what you're going to do. You put your glue down on the white paper, get it stuck down, and then you put your glue on top of the tissue to make sure it's stuck down. And if you have any loose parts, remember to put glue underneath it, otherwise you run the risk of ripping your tissue. Okay, that is all I have for you today, and now it's going to be time for you to create.